Okay, it's 7:02, and I'm going to call the meeting of the Development Review Board for December 16th to order. I'm Maya Hasagawa. I'm the chair of the Development Review Board, and we're asking everybody who is not a member of the board to please turn off your video for the time being and mute yourself. Okay. Since Eric is not here, I am going to appoint Gary to hear and vote on all three cases that we have. Okay, Gary? The board can unmute themselves right now. Okay?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
I am going to read the chair's opening remarks. I know some people have heard these before, and I know the board is tired of hearing them, but anyway, I'm required legally to read them. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro, and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but will look at the evidence from our hearing, the regulations, and determine if the evidence supports the finding and the decision of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board. So I strongly encourage everybody who's listening in or watching to speak up at this meeting. I am now going to ask that everybody who thinks they're going to testify unmute themselves and show and do your camera. Okay, is everybody who's going to testify or present tonight unmuted and showing on your camera, please?
I'm on a telephone. I don't have a camera.
That's fine.
And okay. And I guess my other question is, even if you want to ask a question, I assume that's covered under testify.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
If you want to say anything at all at this hearing,
sure.
Please unmute yourselves and put your camera on if you have it. If you don't do that, then your testimony will not count at this meeting. Yes, Ms. Martin.
Oh, I'm just raising my hand for the oath.
Oh, I'm not going to give it just now. I'm waiting for everybody to, who is on the iPad?
Bobby Angel.
Are you going to speak?
No, I don't think so. I just want to hear what's going on with the sale of the property next to me. So.
Well, if you think you're going to say anything at all, you have to take the oath.
Okay.
So please,
what do I have to do?
Please unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay. Very good. I'm going to read the oath. And everybody who thinks they're going to testify, please, when I tell you to say I do, raise your hand whatever, and then you can go back to mute yourselves and turn your cameras off, okay? As we are on the record, we are going to ask that you affirm your testimony will be truthful. So with the applicants and anyone wishing to speak to an application, please affirm the following. I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay. Everybody who's going to speak has taken the oath, I assume. Okay. So you can mute yourselves now, unless you're on the board. Okay. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That's 4 votes out of 7, and I believe we have a full board tonight. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have a special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as the information from the applicant and all other interested parties. Can somebody from the board, does somebody from the board want to make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 18th meeting?
I do. I make a motion that we accept the
Is there a
minutes.
second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Catherine and Nora that we approve the minutes of November 18th, 2020. All in favor of approving, please raise your hand. Say aye.
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 Okay. So it's 7-0. Is that right?
I think 6.
6-0.
Yeah, we don't have Eric.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So it's 6-0. Anybody abstaining? Any objection? Any no votes? Okay. Brian, has the meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
Does anybody have any conflict of interest or had any ex parte conversations about any of the cases we're hearing tonight? No. Okay. So, and I've appointed Gary to hear all the cases, Gary Stroud. Okay. The first item on the agenda is case 2020-140. Barbara Gentry. And
Mike, before you get going on that, just to announce that the S to B Smith subdivision has been withdrawn and won't be heard. So if anybody's here for the S to B Smith subdivision, it will not be heard tonight.
okay. Okay, and I'm going to ask the board to, because I can't see all of you, I can only see the people that are, I can only see a scroll, and I'll try to keep scrolling back and forth. But if you have a question, please speak up or say something, because that made it difficult last meeting. It only happens when we're looking at the screen that Andrew puts up. Okay. So the first case is Barbara Gentry. Rural Residential District request for plat approval to create a new lot on East Bonnyvale Road. Is Miss Gentry here, and does she want to present?
I am here.
Okay. You can turn your camera on.
Yep, I just did. Yes, I
Okay.
am here.
Can you tell us about your project?
Pardon me?
Tell us about your project.
Okay, it's a 3-acre plot at the bottom of my property that actually abuts Bonnyvale Road, but it's also on Bonnyvale Lane. And it's across the driveway, Bonnyvale Lane, from two neighbors who wish to purchase this property to protect their view, just their own property from the road and a few other things. I think they're probably here too and could speak to what they want to do. We've submitted all the narratives and so on and Andrew has come out and looked at the property. They don't plan to build anything on it. They just want to protect their own property.
Okay. Do the purchasers want to say anything?
I have one question before we get too far.
Sure.
I'm looking at the map here.
Yeah.
What lot are we talking about subdividing off of another? Are we talking about subdividing lot 1 from lot 2?
We're talking about subdividing, yes, lot 1 from lot 2. Yes.
And lot 1 would be the one that would...
The neighbors are purchasing, yes.
Neighbors are purchasing, and
yes.
They are across Bonnyvale Lane.
Yes, which is actually the driveway, which has now been named, yes. They're the two bottom ones, both the Markey houses, M-A-R-K-I-W.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I guess I'm a little confused. I thought it said a subdivision. Doesn't mean that something's going to be built on it? It's been presented as a subdivision.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the terminology really means or what differences there are, but it's subdividing from a piece of other property. If the Markeys are on, which I think they are, we've submitted the narrative that there really is no intention for them to build anything on it. On this, it's a 3-acre plot, just to protect their across the driveway view of Bonnyvale and the other houses.
But that doesn't really preclude them from deciding somewhere down the road that they could build a house on it.
We don't have any plans to develop. We just want to keep it as a wooded lot and possibly turn it into conservation land. The property right now has part of Bonnyvale Brook running through it. The bottom part of it that abuts Bonnyvale Road is also part of a floodplain. So at least a good ½ an acre is undevelopable land as is. Our main intention for the near future and distant future is to preserve and conserve the woodland for our properties that abut the property that's in question right now, and also for any additional property owners adjacent to the property in question.
I guess I can understand my concern is that as long as you live there, then it's going to remain this. But what if you decide to sell your house or your property? What's to stop somebody else who may purchase it from building on it?
We are going to look into what the requirements are for declaring conservation land, which is why we're proposing for 3.07 acres, because we understand that 3 acres is the minimum for conservation land. That will come our post-purchase of the land, but that is something we are very seriously considering right now.
So that means, I believe, if I understand properly, that if you do conserve the land, then it doesn't matter if it's sold to somebody else. Is that,
I don't know, I'd like Brian to step in on that.
Yeah, so when you have a subdivision, it can either have deeded protection, so it will be forever conserved, or you can show that it could be built upon in conformance with the regulations. So the southerly part of the proposed lot 1 is higher ground. It's outside of the flood zone. It's outside of the wetland area, and it has free access to the road that doesn't cross through any wetland or floodplain. So if they were to sell it in future, the parcel could in fact be developed in conformance with the regulations. So you could approve a subdivision without requiring that it be deeded conservation land at this time. And then the owners can choose what to do with it in future.
so if I understand, if they choose not to build, or if a new owner, if they do not get the land conserved, then a new owner would have to present plans and present the way they're going to protect the wetland area of the property before they build.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They would have to show that the stormwater was treated properly, that the buffers were going to be maintained, that it meets all the design requirements, that it's orientated to use solar energy, and that it uses energy efficient construction techniques. And you could place those as conditions on the decision, and that will satisfy the needs of the regulations.
I have another question.
Yes.
Is there any building on lot 2?
No,
And is there any state permitting or anything for lot 2 as far as septic or anything like that?
well, I had it on the market earlier, and then I took it off so that we could subdivide for the marquee 3 acres. I had my land, which is contiguous with this, perked, but I'm not sure whether that's, actually perked. I mean, I think if somebody were to, I will be probably putting it back on the market, the remaining 7 acres in lot 2 now. And I assume that a buyer might have to have it perked. I'm not sure how that works.
Did you actually get a state permit for it as far as septic, or just?
Yes, I did, actually. I got it for my property, and I guess that included, because that was still my property, so yes.
And it wasn't that the area that you had for septic was not located on what is now going to be lot 1?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's fine.
Does that answer your question, Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we have a note that the culvert at the intersection of East Bonnyvale Lane and Bonnyvale Road is undersized and creates localized flooding. And I don't know that we want to make some kind of condition that be remedied, even if nobody builds on it, because it does drain the wetland. Does that make sense, Brian?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have the applicant agree to the proper side culvert with Public Works. Public Works didn't respond to our request for information on it, so I don't think you want to commit them to anything specific. And also, I don't have any information on how much flooding it causes, so it might be something that's so minor it doesn't require anything, so you might want the applicants to speak to that.
So we could make a condition that the applicant consult with Public Works about the culvert.
If I can interject, I'm sorry. I'm Barbara. If I could interject, as far as I know, it hasn't created any problem with any flooding. It backs up a little bit in spring runoff, but there's plenty of area for it to back off on. So I don't know where the issue is there, but it's just my 2 cents.
Well, maybe you and the purchasers could agree to consult Public Works and find out why it may or may not be an issue for them. Does that make sense?
Marquise, what do you think?
Yes,
Yes.
we're willing to do that.
Okay. And I had one other question. Are there trails on the property?
No.
And if you conserve the land, would you be putting a trail on the property or just leave it totally undeveloped?
Our plan is to leave it completely undeveloped and also to use it as kind of a sustainable forest in a way. We hope to introduce indigenous trees, plant those plants, bushes, and when it's necessary, use sustainable logging practices when old trees do need to be taken down. But ultimately, our goal is just to preserve the natural habitat there for all of the local wildlife, and also just to provide a screen from us and adjacent properties across on Bonnyvale Road.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any other questions? Any comments? They said I can't see everybody.
I guess I just don't feel comfortable with the fact that the land, once the land is, once they go away or they move away, that land becomes available for somebody to build on. I know you want to conserve it, but what guarantee is it that it will always stay a conservation land?
Could I interject here? I'm Barbara. What really would the problem be if somebody wanted to build on it? I mean, it's a bigger lot than the 3 lots across the driveway from it. I don't know that. I mean, a 3-acre plot is, even though the bottom part is not buildable because it's wetlands, the upper part is, on a hillside and it's dry. I'm not advocating.
That's not what's being indicated. What's being indicated is that it's going to be conservation, that something's not going to be built on it.
Well, yes, that's basically what they've said in the narrative, but I'll let them take over here. I'm just wondering what the issue is.
Just to jump in here, there are situations where the board can require that land is conserved, and it's usually where there's a trade-off. So you might be creating a planned unit development or conservation subdivision where the density of one area of the subdivision is increased in return for conserving other areas of the subdivision. That's not what's going on here. So the board doesn't actually have a right to require that anything be conserved. All you can do is to make sure that it either is conserved land because that's what the owners choose, or that it actually have an area that can be developed in conformance with the regulations at this time.
Well, if it ever gets sold again and the new owners decide to build, then they have to come before the DRB and it has to meet all the regulations. So I don't think we can require that it never be sold the second time. And if it's conserved land, I think it's conserved. I don't think I don't know what the state regs are exactly, but I don't believe that it can be unconserved.
Usually if it's a conservation easement, it's in perpetuity.
Yeah.
It runs with the land.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Margaret.
I had a question from the Plat draft. There was I don't know if Brian drafts these, but I'm wondering, about the question of whether Barbara is trying to renew the creation of Lot 2, which was approved previously. And whoever drafted it, I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I drafted that. So there have been a number of different subdivisions on Barbara's property, and some of them have gone through and some of them have expired. So her parcel includes lot 1, lot 2, and then the area on the opposite side of the road where her house is located. And this plat, as it's shown, seems to look like it could indicate that lot 2 is being subdivided from the rest of the parcel on the opposite side of the road, which isn't what we had warned, and it should be confirmed that that's not actually what's happening here.
Is that Brian speaking, right?
Yes.
Okay, Brian, question, Barbara. You're saying if I want to put it's lot 2, right, back on the market, I have to go before the board again. Is that what you're indicating?
Yeah, because what you provided us before didn't show lot 2 being created, and I didn't warn that in the newspaper.
I guess that's a yes if I want to put it back on the market, which I was thinking of doing next year. So I'll get with you and find out what I need to do, okay?
Okay, yes, it was a yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, just so that I understand it now, lot 2 of 7.49 acres is actually bigger than that because it includes your property on across Bonnyvale Lane from lot 2.
No, that's a separate lot.
Now I'm confused again.
I think that what happened before us, any of us were on the board, is that lot 2 was subdivided from, well, the parcel that's now a combination of lot 1 and lot 2 was subdivided from the rest of Barbara's property.
Yes.
And now it's being now that piece, which is the entirety of lot 1 and of what we're calling 1 and 2, is being split into 1 and 2.
That's the way I read the map, but I guess I didn't understand what Brian was talking about just then.
Oh, well, that
yeah, that subdivision expired, Maya, so
yeah,
lot 1 and 2 aren't separate from the rest of that larger lot.
Okay.
So right now, there is, before this subdivision takes place, lot 1, lot 2, and then across the street from lot 2 is all one lot. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes.
So right now, what we're doing is contemplating taking lot 1 off of what would be left, which would be lot 2 plus the lot that's located with the pool and the house.
That's exactly correct.
Which is, do we know, just not that it matters, but do we know how big this other lot is, the house where Barbara, where your house is?
Yes, I can tell you that. I have to go look it up. But it's not contiguous with my property because the Bonnyvale Lane goes between it. And I have that segmented as a lot to sell, which again was originally what I had on the market, including the 3 acres that we're lopping off now with your approval, which is very separate from my lot. My property of close to 40 acres was subdivided in 2013 into 4 different lots, including my parcel. So I had 3 different lots that I could eventually sell or whatever, plus the parcel where my improvements are.
Okay, so as I understand it, what we would be approving is if we look at all of your property as a total entity, then we're looking at just lopping off what on this map is lot 1. And that's all we're approving. We're not approving re-subdividing what is lot 2 on the map from the rest of it or anything else. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, that's all that was warned.
Yep. So if Barbara wants to subdivide lot 2 again and sell it, she's going to have to come back to us.
Got it. Thank you.
Is that clear to everybody on the board? It's kind of confusing. Gary.
It makes sense. I understand totally, completely how you're mapping that out. Excuse the pun, mapping it out so that way it's more understandable down the road. If she does decide to do lot 2, she would have to come back to us and basically bring up a new proposal.
Yes. Exactly. Are there any other questions or any comments? Barbara, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fairly clear on what we've talked about, and I'm hoping you'll approve this for my neighbor's sake because they're very interested in just having their view remain nice if I do end up selling the other parcel so that anybody who buys it can't build down close across from them. And so I understand why they want to do it, and I understand that I need to come back and get approval of this new lot 2 before I put it back on the market in the spring or whatever, and I'll get in touch with Brian. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just one more question. It's this, I mean, this survey that we're looking at here is, if that would be the survey that you'd be filing, it is not representative of what we're approving. Is that correct, Brian?
I think so long as we'll make sure that the decision is very clear on what's being approved. That will be reflected in the permit that's recorded, and I think that should be fine.
Okay,
Yeah, it will definitely have to be spelled out very clearly.
It's nice when everything agrees with each other.
That's true. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the subdivision of lot 1 from the rest of Ms. Gentry's property with the additional condition that they consult with Public Works about the culvert?
I so move.
A second.
Okay, so Nora Dissinger's made the motion, seconded by Gary Stroud.
Margaret made the motion.
Oh, Margaret made the motion. Sorry, Margaret. You sounded like Nora.
No problem.
I can't see anybody.
It's that split screen.
So, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Is that 6-0? I say aye. Catherine, are you voting?
Can we get a full screen?
Yes. Okay.
No, I'm not voting aye.
Okay. 5 ayes. Catherine, are you those voting no?
That's right.
Okay. So the decision is 5-1 to
It should
allow-
be 6-1, I believe.
Yeah.
No, 5, no Eric.
No,
Well,
Eric's
yeah,
not here, right?
But Gary's here. Gary counts.
Yeah, but he just makes 6.
I make up for something.
Gary makes 6 with me voting.
7.
Once I can see the full screen, it's kind of hard to really see who's.
4, 5,
It's 6 with Gary, 5 if I say no.
7.
Right.
It is
You got it.
7.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 7. We have 7. We have a full board, so that
So
it
it's
looks
6
like
to
the
1.
vote 6-1.
Okay. We've got it straight.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Gentry, your application has been approved. And you'll get a written decision from Brian in a few days. I'm not exactly sure how long, but as soon as Brian writes it and I can sign it and it's not snowing, you'll have a decision.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
You're welcome.
Are we free to go now, the Marquis and I?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next case is the Thurbers subdivision. And the draft decision has at the top, again, Barbara Gentry, if you're confused. But if you go down to the findings of fact, the first line says the owners of record are Ross Thurber and Amanda Ellis. So it's confusing. And all the paperwork has Ross Thurber on it. Does that make sense to everybody?
The title needs correcting.
Yes. Yes, it took me a while to figure it out, but. Okay, are Mr. Thurber here? Mr.
You guys
Thurber?
can come off mute.
We're here. Yeah.
Okay,
Ross, Amanda.
Yep.
okay, so talk to us about your project.
Okay. About going on 6 years this upcoming year in 2021, we purchased property on Abbott Road. We operate a farm on Ames Hill Road, Lilac Ridge Farm. And the property that we purchased on Abbott Road has 140 acres, and 10 acres was excluded from conservation. The rest of the land is all in conservation of Vermont Land Trust. So when we purchased the property, we knew at some point we would sell that 10 acres, and found a buyer who grew up here in Brattleboro with me, and she would like to purchase the property. So we have worked with Kathleen Martin to create a survey. We had a septic report done by Michael Marquis, and we're ready to present this for your approval. There is one recent change that we have made, and that is the right-of-way that goes through the property is currently listed as 50 feet. The purchaser would like to reduce it to 25 feet, which is fine with us. It's simply access to our forest. That's all that right-of-way is for, so that we can have access to, if we do logging or, use the trail, whatever. So that's where we stand.
Okay, so you have 140 acres and 10 acres of it is not conserved.
That's right.
And you want to lop off that 10 acres and sell it
Yes.
for development.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
What kind of development were you talking about, Mr. Thurber? I couldn't.
We have, may I speak?
Sure.
We have we have 600 acres conserved through the Vermont Land Trust for our farm, Lilac Ridge Farm. This is a contiguous property. In 2014, we purchased 150 acres from Pat Chamberlain. It belongs to Ross and Amanda Thurber.
140.
Well, no, excluding our house site. Yeah. So, and with Pat Chamberlain's property, which is conserved through the Vermont Land Trust, there were 10 acres excluded from the conservation easement. That is the property we're selling. We are selling it to a single purchaser who grew up in Brattleboro. She lives in Austin, Texas, currently, and is going to have it as a summer property.
So I assume she's going to build a house.
Currently, I mean, from what we've heard, she would like to put up a small, like, tiny house or something like that.
Some kind of structure. Yeah.
Yeah. She's working with Adam Hubbard to map it out.
Do you have a sense of why the 10 acres were originally excluded from the easement? Was it?
They were probably excluded from the easement to generate some income.
Somewhere down the line.
Yep.
I've noticed that when people put large pieces of land into conserve, they often will hold 10 acres back. Just seems to be something people do.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because it's, you know, it's close to the road. You know, it's easy access. Yeah, so it's
I think what's heartening about our purchaser is she is someone we know. She is a partial season user and low impact. So our neighbors could potentially approach her for access to woodland, walks, whatever. As Lilac Ridge Farm, we have an open access trail to the community, which is called Brown Mountain. We have public access to an abundance of land, and this abuts all of our land. And our purchaser is congenial to all of those things. And we chose her purposely.
I have one question for Brian. What would reducing that right of way from 50 feet to 25 feet do? From, I mean, as I understand it, an awful lot of, if you wanted a right of way for a road for that you were going to develop the land out back, it would have to be 50 feet wide. Is 25 feet adequate for what they're trying to do?
Yeah, for a forest road, I think it is. It's really not access to any future development.
Right.
Are there any utility easements running on the right of way?
No.
No.
But so if by some chance the land went out of the land trust, and which doesn't seem likely, but it would be restricted by the 25 foot wide right of way as far as the future development. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, so that would limit what type of road you could develop. So basically it would allow for the development of a driveway, which could serve, I think, up to 3 houses. So it would definitely restrict future subdivision that would be accessed off that particular road.
Okay, thank you.
Just to make sure that the buyer understands that before they do anything with the property, if we approve this subdivision, she will have to come before the board with plans. And there'll be requirements about solar energy and utilities being underground, and wastewater permits and that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. She's represented locally by John Mabey. So I
Okay.
think we would keep her abreast of that.
Okay. Does anybody else on the board have any questions or comments?
Is that with Mr. Cook maybe in Seacrest?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Snow day tomorrow. That's what that call is.
I
Yeah,
noticed.
that's you.
I noticed that off of Abbott Road, that Andrew, can you see the line that goes down that cuts off the 10 acres from the conserved land? Is that the 25-foot road that they wanted, the 50 that they want to change to 25? Right there?
Yes.
Okay, so
You see,
does that,
you see it, Kate? I'm kind of going across it.
right. So that actually is a road that comes out onto Abbott?
Yeah, there's currently there's a log landing at the entrance to Abbott Road.
I don't understand. What's a log landing?
Log landing is an open area where you can consolidate logs from harvesting timber.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's currently used as a hunting access. Our neighbor across the road sometimes will drive his snowmobile or four-wheeler. We'll hike into it. It just kind of looks like an old logging road. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's like a little dirt road in the back of a path, people, basically.
Even less than a dirt road. It's kind of like a forest.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay. Nice scenic route. Beautiful.
It's pretty wet right now.
Good for mudding.
So as the neighbor, can I ask?
Yes.
Questions?
Can you identify yourself? Can you please identify yourself and say where you live?
I'm Barbara Angel, so I'm the property next door to it.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm curious if she's likely to use the logging road as the driveway into her house.
I don't know yet. I'm not sure if she will or not. That will kind of, and it's kind of up to them, how they want to do that.
Well,
So
the thing is, how would she access her property if she didn't have a driveway?
Oh, well, theoretically, you could put an opening. It's all flat there along Abbott Road, so you could have another opening along the way. I really don't. I'm not sure. How she will decide to do that.
Not that it particularly matters, but what area did you have that perked in there?
The area that we had perked is over sort of. I don't know if I can use.
Can you guys see the mouse? If we use our mouse?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So the area that is perked is roughly right around here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Right
see
around.
it, so.
You see that cross right there?
Okay.
What do you want
So
to be showing? I can make sure that I hover over it. What exactly am I looking for?
We're looking for is the cross where the perk test was on the map? Is that? Now the cross is gone. Okay. Basically, this area right here that I'm pointing to.
Mhm.
My understanding is, that's where we did the test bed.
Just to confirm, they can't see your screen. My screen is showing with the plat. If you tell me what to show, I can make sure I hover over it via my mouse.
So just below.
Is it on the side of the road that says Lot 1, or is it on the side of the right-of-way that has the label right-of-way on it?
It's on it's right around where the label of right-of-way is. That's the area that was perked. Yep, right there.
Thank you.
Okay.
And will it be maintained as 10 acres? Or can she subdivide it?
I mean, theoretically, she could subdivide it. My understanding, it's going to be maintained as 10 acres.
I have to say, I think Maya said something previously, but I really would like to know what her plans are for this property. I mean, she would have to submit something to the DRB, but at this point, it's kind of like we don't really know.
I think it'd be really useful to see the development envelope.
Yeah, I agree with you, John.
So Sarah Duzinski is the daughter of Ann Duzinski and Chuck Duzinski. Anyone go to Brattleboro Union High School? I mean, she's a good kid. She's a Brattleboro native, now lives in Austin, Texas, would like to have a little tiny slice of her hometown, which her good friend from high school is willing to sell to her.
So I think that seeing that development envelope would be really useful. And it sounds like she's working with a landscape architect. So it doesn't sound like that would be a very difficult thing to submit with these materials.
Okay.
We can forward that information to her. That's necessary. Yep.
Sure.
Brian, can we make that a condition?
Sure.
And this is Deirdre Kelleher Grass, a land abutter. I had a question, please.
Okay.
And I guess I'm just trying to understand if this hearing is just about the landowners being able to sell this 10 acres, or does it also involve what will then happen to that 10 acres? I think previously you said the buyer would need to submit a plan to the board for whatever they wanted to do with the property. So is that totally separate, or is that sort of also intertwined with this hearing on just subdividing these 10 acres?
There would have to be another hearing
Okay.
once she develops plans, and it would have to be presented to the board, and it would have to meet all the conditions for development in that zoning area. I think what John is asking for is
Me. John and Catherine.
Right.
Yeah, can you explain again what you would like before we approve the subdivision?
Yeah, the regulations require submission of a development envelope, which will show where the house site might be in layman's terms. Then that gives an opportunity for everybody here to see that, and for the neighbors to see it, and the DRB members to see it and respond to it. So I'd actually propose that we hold off on voting on this subdivision until we see all of this information, if that's possible.
We can do that, I believe, Brian, can't we?
Yes, definitely. You could continue it till the meeting of
January.
Yeah.
I don't know the date.
Let me see if I can look it up.
20th.
January 20th.
I'd like to appeal that ruling that you're discussing right now, principally because we are farmers. We own 600 plus acres of land, actively conserved, actively accessible to the community. We are in a situation where we, as two individuals, own a piece of property that is subdividable. We are in a situation financially as farmers where we would like to sell that property, and we would like to do it within the early part of 2021. Anyway, that's where we stand. It's not a matter of what's going to happen there. We trust our purchaser. It is our property, and we would like to continue forward.
Well, I think it's a question of what the board decides they want to do. And if the board votes to continue to January 20th, which is also Inauguration Day, by the way, then that's a decision the board has the right to make. Because certain document, I understand what John is saying, that we're missing, and Catherine, that we're missing certain documents from the submission. So
were we supposed to provide more information?
We were not informed by Brian, nor our lawyer, nor our surveyor that was required.
So just to jump in here, if it were to be continued to January 20th and you provided that envelope, basically the rough area of where a house would be built, then we could have a decision to you at the end of the week of the 20th. So the week of probably by around the 23rd, and you'd have that Monday. So around the 26th. Would that be compatible with your needs, or would that still be an issue?
It's actually not compatible with our needs.
Okay.
No, it's not actually.
Okay. No, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. We'd like a decision by the 1st of January. We can provide the documentation if that's necessary.
Well, we will not be meeting until January 20th. And so if we do not make a decision tonight, and the board has not voted on whether we want to continue or not, but if the board does vote to continue, it will be continued to the 20th of January.
So Maya, I think procedurally it's fine. It's a conforming lot, and certainly there's some area that could be developed in conformance with all the regulations. So to break it into two parts, where at this point you approve the subdivision, and then a future application and warrant hearing would be to approve the actual development envelope or the actual development plan, that would meet the requirements of the regulations.
I'm comfortable with that.
I am too.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. John, how do you feel about that?
That works.
That
works. I would like to go with that 25 foot change. That would at least limit it to becoming something that it shouldn't.
Okay, yeah, we can approve the narrowing of that.
Yes.
That road. We can make that a condition.
Yes.
Can it be logged if it's only 25 feet wide? I mean, can logging trucks travel on a 25-foot?
We do our own logging.
No. Well, the logging will actually come out to the road. That's where the logs come. So the trucks pick up the logs at the landing.
I mean, you're talking to farmers who also have infrastructure regarding log loaders, tractors. This is part of our livelihood. All right. When we talk about accessing our land, we talk about using our own equipment. We talk about conserving land. We talk about providing hiking access. I mean, we are the livelihood of this community.
I walk on the road.
Infringe on that whatsoever.
And we at the DRB are here to make sure that the land is used properly. Mm-hmm. And we're not the bad guys here. We want to have you, we would understand that you need to do this, but we want to make sure that this property meets regulations that are the DRB. We're here to protect the land in Brattleboro.
Yeah, and I think everybody has mutual interest here, and we have a procedural path forward. So I would suggest that the board go ahead and move this forward.
So who's going to make the motion?
Well, can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Just for this, we're talking about this 25-foot right of way, but you do mention something about having a log landing down there, and you do are expecting to continue to be doing logging up on the land up beyond. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would it not be prudent to withhold right of way where the landing is, so that at such time that your the people you sell this property to decides to move along and sells it to somebody else, that there isn't a squabble over saying, what are you doing putting your logs on my land? I've seen things like this happen. Is all.
Yeah, no, I think I could see how that could happen. I wanted to create something that was the least impact as far as the property goes. So I'm willing to take that chance. And if something happened and it was a different landowner and we couldn't access, we couldn't have the same kind of log landing, then that would be a risk I'm willing to take, I guess. I prefer it to be as low impact as possible. So this seemed to be the best way forward.
I mean, we are fortunate in that our farmland is contiguous with this land. So when we talk about harvesting timber, we can access it from other points beside the road and what would be the right of way from the road. So if we talk about intergenerational farming, there are other ways to access.
Okay, I was only offering up I
appreciate it. No, thank you.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm confused now. Let's see, John?
Yeah.
Can you articulate the motion that we're going to make?
I might lean on Brian to help a little bit here, but we're going to, this motion will be to approve the subdivision as it's shown here and require that future land development is submitted and has a chance to be reviewed and heard at this board.
Is there a second?
Second.
With the condition of the 25 feet.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll add that condition, that we'll agree to the subdivision with the road being narrowed to 25 feet.
Right.
And the condition that any future development come before the board. Does that work for you guys?
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Voted yet.
We haven't voted yet. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please
Aye.
signify by saying aye.
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 Is that aye? Is that 7? Are there any nay votes? Anybody abstaining? Okay, 7-0. The motion has been approved. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. It's 8 o'clock and we're moving on to the Town of Brattleboro and Amtrak, request for site plan approval to develop a level boarding platform and station building shelter in compliance with the ADA requirements. And who is here from either the town or Amtrak to present, please?
This is Ellen Pinnell. I'm with Amtrak.
Okay.
I will be presenting this evening along with Laura Abasala, who is also on the line.
Okay. So can you describe your project, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity this evening. Again, my name is Ellen Pannell. I'm the third-party coordinator for Amtrak's ADA Stations program. I have with me this evening Lonnie Murray, who is our director for the ADA Stations program. And I also have Laura Abisala, who is the the project manager for the design of the development for the ADA Stations program at Brattleboro. Before I turn it over to Laura, I would like to just give a high-level summary of what the ADA program does and a quick history on how the project got to this point. Just, I think it's interesting for everybody to understand how we got to this development. And if you have any questions or if I'm speaking too quickly, please interrupt me and I'll slow down or answer questions along the way. On the screen right now is just a good overview to start with for the program. The Amtrak ADA Stations program is tasked with bringing all the stations that Amtrak serves across the country into compliance with the ADA law, where we have ADA responsibility. And this is done so that we can provide the best possible service to our passengers with mobility needs. All of our designs that we're doing across the country must adhere to the 2006 Department of Transportation Accessibility Standards, which we like to refer to as DOTAS. It also, anything we do has to conform to Amtrak's engineering standards. And we do have to follow the guidelines as recommended by the state historic preservation offices, in this case, Vermont, and any of the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation. The grants money that's used to fund these improvements is federally funded, and so therefore we do have to meet these requirements as we go forward. All of our drawings that we're going to show tonight are oriented such as the drawing that you're showing, that's being shown right now on the screen. So the river is to page north, or to the top of the page. The town is at the bottom of the page, and north is to page left. Hopefully everyone's fairly familiar with the site. The historic station that's shown there, and Andrew, if you want to kind of circle things as I'm talking about them, please feel free there. The historic station is where the existing station is right now. We have a small space on the lower level that faces the main line and platform. The existing platform is around 460 feet long. It's about at, I want to say it's between top of tie and top of rail, so it's a low-level platform. And as we started to look at the project and started to develop this design, we originally were thinking that the improvements would be exactly where they are today. But as we started to develop the ADA requirements that would be needed for this platform, we determined that there were so many constraints here, we were not going to end up with a development that was really conducive to serving our train service here, nor was it going to solve any of the safety issues that happen along the existing platform right now. So if we were to develop a platform in the existing location, it would have been a low-level platform still at 8 inches above top of rail, because the main line still has freight on it. And when we are on a platform next to freight, we are only allowed to go to 8 inches above top of rail, and then we use what's called a wheelchair lift to get any passengers with mobility needs from the low level up to the 48-inch cars along that route. And because of the vehicular access and easements along this platform, we would end up with only a 150 or so foot platform at 8 inches above top of rail. In addition to that, there is an easement along that area for a state transmission electric line. That line was going to have to be buried in order to do these improvements. And After all that was said and done, we still wouldn't have solved any of the pedestrian and vehicular crossover that would happen there, which is a safety concern. After kind of looking at this with the town, and we started to engage the town very early on this design, we started to realize that this was not really necessarily where anybody wanted us to be. We started to look then at developing a platform on the other side of the tracks. And from this, from this drawing, or from this drawing that you have on the screen, you can see that there's a main line track, and just to the river side of that track, to the east, is a siding track which is not active. We started to engage the host railroad, who is NECR in this location, to find out whether they would be amenable to allowing us to move our Amtrak trains onto the siding track at this location. And if they were allowing us to do that, we would be on a track that would not have freight on it, and therefore we would be able to develop a 48-inch above top of rail platform, which is what we consider level boarding. And as hopefully many of you have been able to experience, level boarding is ultimately where we want to be. It is the easiest access. It is the safest way to get passengers on and off the train. Mm-hmm. And fantastically, our discussions with NECR landed quite well, and they are amenable to allowing us to do this. And so, again, talking with the town, many folks from the town were excited to hear about this possibility. And so the drawings that we're going to show today are about developing a new platform on the east side of that siding track. Now, just a little bit more information. The idea is that if we do develop this platform to the east of the siding track, we cannot have people waiting in the old station building in the waiting room. It would be a dangerous situation to have people waiting there and then going over to a new platform across two sets of tracks. So we are required then to provide the same amenities that we have in the existing station. So right now we have a small waiting room, a single unisex bathroom. We have an engineer change station, which is where our engineers do some paperwork and other administration things. I think that's it. Yes, and we have a small kind of caretaker window. So a caretaker opens and closes the station just before the train arrives and closes it just after the train arrives, and is there really just to answer questions as people are waiting for the train. So our drawings and design that we're going to present to you this evening include this small station building that has those amenities that we will no longer be using in the existing condition where they are right now. Let me think if there's anything else I wanted to kind of give you the history on before I turn it over. Lonnie, is there anything that you would like to say before I turn it over to Laura for kind of going through the drawings and giving a little bit more detail?
No, Ellen, I think you covered it quite well. Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks. So Laura, I would like to turn it over to you.
Excuse me just a second. Did anybody on the board have any questions to this?
I wanted to ask one question, basically. Now, as far as maintenance, now, would that be Amtrak is maintaining the lifts, maintaining any snow removals or anything? Like, I remember the meeting they spoke about that was up in the air if it was going to be the town on Amtrak. How has that been rectified, or how's that been settled, I guess, as far as keeping that upkept, as far as anything, you know, with the lifts and all the other amenities that are coming along with that?
Yes. So right now, there will be a fairly, I'll call it complex, easement agreement required between Amtrak, NECR, and the town.
Okay.
Because the improvements that we're making impact both NECR property and town property. And Amtrak is the one who's going to be building these improvements. So we have to have an agreement between the three. We have drafted that agreement. It is with NECR right now for review. That agreement will take care of all of, it's a negotiation that still has to happen. We're not there yet, but it will take care of all of those items you just talked about. Who will own the improvements when they're done? Who will maintain them when they're done? What are their responsibilities? for each party in this agreement. So I can't really say at this point what the maintenance will be, but that will all be worked out in that easement agreement.
Right, because they were talking about like trash removal and all. I went to a couple of the meetings and one about the bridge, and that was the major concerns about upkeep.
Yes,
and
all of that
preservation.
is to be negotiated. Yes.
Great.
And this is Lonnie. I just say one thing about the lift. With the high-level platform, the lift will no longer be needed.
Right.
The lift is currently placed for the low-level platform, and we maintain that. But when we go to a high level, you will no longer need that lift.
Now, is it heated? I heard something in the mentioning that the certain platforms are heated. Is that true, or that's something that?
Yes, we are developing a heated platform, and I believe we have the construction funding approved, but Lonnie, do you know for certain if that approval was in place yet?
Yes, that funding has been approved.
Yes, so we are moving forward with a heated platform, yes.
Okay.
I have a question, and I think actually this is a great idea, but anyway, on Depot Street, where we now presently park to go across the track to the entrance on the other side, where would the new building be where you could go your ticket? Where would the office be on that side? It would be on the Depot side? And I'm looking at right now, what I'm looking at the picture is like you have trees there, and then there's the fuel company. I'm not quite sure where the station would be.
Yes, this is just the existing conditions, and as we get into the next drawings, we will show you exactly where that will go.
Okay, all right.
And just one more thing to add, just as far as other site constraints that we were up against, where this drawing shows the vacant town building, that is currently what's called a brownfield site, and it is capped with a soil cap. So we have some constraints as far as we're trying not to impact that area of the site because it is capped. We will have to impact it slightly, and we will have soil remediation plans in place to deal with any disturbance that we do to that cap, and we will be replacing that soil cap if we do disturb it. But it is one of the reasons why what we're going to show to you is trying to avoid touching that area. And I think that's about it. I'm going to turn
as a particular train traveler, I am excited.
Well, this is very exciting. It would be the first level boarding platform in Vermont. So very exciting. And from the ADA aspect of this project, this is exactly what we are trying to do wherever we can across the country. It is more difficult to find these opportunities to do level boarding. And so the fact that NECR has been willing to work with us is just, and the town, that's both, everybody working together has been just fabulous. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura, and then between her and I, we will be able to answer questions as they come up. Laura, are you there? Maybe
Thank
I'll
you.
be doing. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Thank you, Ellen. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we can hear you. And Andrew, could you go to the next page, please?
So I am looking on sheet C101. Andrew, if you can share that sheet.
He is.
Okay, perfect. So at Brattleboro Station, we are providing a level boarding platform that is 12.5 feet wide by 345 feet long. It's appointed with a necessary detectable warning surface, guardrails in the back of the platform. We have lighting, signage, and platform drainage. The emergency egress from the platform is designed for an FPA and accomplished by providing 2 ramps within 85 feet of the edge of the platform, and it's leading to the sidewalk level and a point of safety. Adjacent to the platform, we are providing the new station building, which is based on Amtrak station prototype. and it's also positioned on a raised plaza at the same level of the platform. And it's accessible from the parking level, either via the stairs or the ramps. As we mentioned earlier, the platform, the plaza, the stairs, and the ramp will receive an electric snow melt system. The system is comprised of electric mats, which are embedded in the concrete, and with surface-mounted snow and ice sensors. At the parking level,
is that what's called the jellyfish filter?
I will get to that later. So I was just talking about the electric snow melt system, the heated platform.
Okay, where does that, when the platform's heated and the snow melts, where does the runoff go?
So the runoff will end up eventually in that jellyfish that you were talking about, and that would be in the brownfield site. And I will get to it in a little bit. And it's actually on a different sheet, so I will talk about this a little later.
Okay.
So at the parking level, we are providing a concrete walkway that is minimum 5 feet wide, and it maintains a continuous circulation path between the parking, the stairs, the ramp, and the existing bus shelter island. And we're also proposing over that area a bike rack. We are also currently investigating the best location on site for implementing an electrified bike rack and EV charging station. This is an ongoing exercise, and we will, update the town once we figure out the best location for those two site components. Amtrak will be providing the conduits and the space and electrical panels, and the town will be eventually providing those two components. At the parking lot, also, we are reusing the existing meters, and we're providing 2 accessible parking spaces with an access aisle and 2 planting islands to create a tree canopy, which is required per the town site design and engineering standards. So the ADA improvements and all the related site improvements contributed to the reduction of the width of Depot Street. So in order for us to compensate that reduction and maintain the 22 feet wide driveway, we had to move the existing curb line, which is the dash line where keynote number 1 is pointing. So we have to move that line about 5 feet up. And then, so the solid line where keynote number 12, it's actually the new curb line location. And as some of you may already know, this parcel between Depot Street and the river is a brownfield site, and there's an existing cap there. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna provide a new cap, and we're gonna maintain and preserve the integrity of the existing cap at the tie-in point with the new cap. Also, some excavation will take place on this parcel to install the stormwater conveyance infrastructure, as well as the jelly system. And I just want to mention that our designer has been working on an SMP, a soil management plan, to document the environmental design scope of work, and which was required by VTDC, which is the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation. So Andrew, if you can jump to sheet C104. So this is the drainage and utility plan. And so the outflow from the trench drain, the platform trench drain, and the platform under drain and a catch basin in the parking lot will connect to a new manhole in Depot Street. It's where keynote number 21 is pointing. And then from that point on, we're going to connect to another catch basin along the curb line, which is number 25. And then we're going to connect to the jellyfish, which is a high performance filtration system. And I just want to mention that, you know, this system was chosen as an alternative to a conventional seepage pit due to the fact that the site has shallow rock and high water table, you know, as well as to minimize disturbance to the existing environmental cap. And as far as for the sanitary line, we are connecting to a new manhole, which is where keynote 7 is pointing. And then that leads to an existing sanitary sewer manhole where keynote number 9 is pointing. And as far as domestic water service connection, it's still an ongoing exercise. We have reached out to the Department of Public Works to coordinate the service connection. In this drawing, we are showing the connection to an existing line beneath Bridge Street. However, we were told that this line is undersized. So, you know, the feasibility of the station tying into the service is still unknown at this time, but we are working with the DPW to figure out a plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the electric service connection, our designer was on site about a week ago, and they met with Green Mountain Power, and a discussion occurred about the proposed service connection. Right now, as illustrated on the plan, the service is going to slightly change, but we will be pulling the service from the pole that is across the street. It's where keynote number 12 is pointing. That's the existing pole right now. And we're going to trench it over to our site. Any questions so far? All right. Andrew, if you can go to sheet A101. So this is the plan of the station building. So the station is roughly 1,300 square feet, and it's comprised of the 500 square feet waiting area. It's actually sized to support the projected ridership growth in the next 5 years. There are a couple benches there, a drinking fountain, and to the right of the waiting area, we have the engineer's room. So this is a crew changing stop, and it requires a room for the engineers. And the space is shared with a caretaker that has a counter with a window overlooking the waiting room. To the left of the waiting area, we have the ancillary spaces, a toilet, a general closet, storage room, and an electrical room.
Is this still going to be is this still going to be a non-ticketed station?
It's non-ticketed, correct.
Okay.
And the station building exterior enclosure is brick veneer with 3 inches rivet insulation with CMU backup. And the roof is a standing seam metal roof panel over a metal deck. And I think we can now show some of the renderings. So let's see. So Andrew, if you're showing the first rendering, so this is a view from the parking lot east of the station. There will be a condensing unit, but it will be fenced. So this is what you can see over here where the stairs is. So it's going to be an all brick building. And then if you want to jump onto the second rendering.
I was just wondering, will there be security cameras set up here?
Ellen, do you want to answer that?
Sorry, yes, I was on mute. Yes, there will be security cameras. We're working with Amtrak security police right now to determine where those locations will be. And we'll work with the town to figure out how to connect the town police and Amtrak police as appropriate.
And it's still going to be one trains heading south and then train heading north. It's the time period's not going to, we can only, it's hard to explain. When I'm on the train, I have to go down to visit my family in New Jersey, which hasn't happened since March. The train will just be going south, and then there'll be another train coming back around 5 o'clock or something going north. And is that going to still be the same schedule, or?
Yes,
Right.
that schedule will remain the same.
Okay.
And as you said, it's the same time frame. So it arrives from the south, in around 5-ish, and then it arrives from the north around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
So the other track is just for freight.
Yes, correct. They'll be using that for freight still.
That's too bad. I wish it were too. Never mind.
Well, I mean, there's always hope for the future. We'll be able to handle it.
I know.
This is Lonnie, and I will say that there are future plans underway, not only for maybe perhaps increased Amtrak service. I know there's discussion with MassDOT to look at future T service from the Springfield, Massachusetts station, perhaps north to Vermont. So there are possibilities that are being discussed for future service that will come through Brattleboro.
That's great.
So, Ellen, at the meeting that they had prior before, I remember going to the select board meeting, you could say a couple of other meetings they had, with the accessibility of getting on the train, people with the width of wheelchairs or strollers, usually just one side door is usually open. That was an issue they spoke about. How is that going to be, I guess, taken care? I guess maybe the conductor could open up the other side, depending on how's that work, basically, now that you've gotten that feedback from the last survey when we had that meeting.
Hopefully I understood your question, but yes, the conductors will be able to open more doors on the platform, and all of them will be accessible. So at any point, anybody with mobility issues will be able to access several of the train cars, as opposed to now where they have to wait for this lift to come over to one location. So this will give a lot more flexibility for the conductors and for the passengers too.
Right, because I'm from New York, and I remember going to Amtrak, and sometimes even with Metro North, one side door is just open, and you have people that get on there. That's usually the hurdle for a lot of people with wheelchairs or carriages or whatever. I don't know if they come on with the motorized one too. So
yeah, people with crutches even, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we've all had a time where we've probably needed level boarding, Oh,
I remember those days, rush hour.
Exactly.
I have a question for you. Where do we stand on parking? It looks as if this building is being put where parking places currently are.
Yes, we are losing a few of the parking spaces. Laura, do you remember what the existing count versus proposed count is?
I believe the existing was about 22 or 25 something like that. And now we're providing 2 ADA parking and 16 regular parking spots.
So we are losing a few, and as you could see from that site plan that we showed you, it's because of the new station building.
Right. Now, I mean, I've heard, I don't know, I swear I read something in a newspaper article recently about that there would be eventually there'd be a net gain of 25 more spots, because I have found when using that area that parking in there, well, because of the Whetstone across the street, the parking in there is at a premium. We've had to go all the way down to the end and walk all the way back and get around the, it'll be easier access if there's a spot.
Yes. Is anyone from the town willing to answer that question?
Yeah, there is likely to be a parking lot expansion project. It's being designed separately, and it will be at an upcoming hearing. We don't know the timing of that.
Yeah, I thought I heard that part too, because that was an issue also, along with the decommissioning of the old Amtrak. I mean, there was a lot of that information flying about, but we didn't know. I mean, we spoke to Patrick Moreland in regards to that, and a couple of other people that were going to be a part of that topic or dialogue, but it hadn't been solidified yet. So I guess that's still, like you said, on the table with Amtrak and with the town to see how that's going to be taken care of.
Are there any? Go ahead, Michael.
I was just wondering if, just to bring us up to speed here a little bit, sounds like, Brian, you might know what possible options there are for additional parking?
No, I don't know any details about it. We'll have to wait and see what the designers come up with.
So the parking hasn't been designed yet? Oh, Sue.
Maya, hi. This is Sue Fillion. I'm the planning director for Brattleboro. And there are discussions underway to create a parking lot that would mean the archery building would be removed, and kind of where the existing bus turnaround is, that would become a parking lot. Those plans are in motion. They were, consent was discussed at the December, at one of the beginning of the month select board meetings. And so staff is working on that, and that is something that would come for the DRB at some point in the future. So there are plans to create more parking down there.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sue. I think that would be very important.
Yes. Yeah.
So what you're saying is we're going to get rid of a bus access so more people can drive their cars there? In other words, we could actually have transportation to the depot to get the train without having to use your car. I mean, we're encouraging more pollution going into the air.
I'm not exactly sure that bus turnaround is being used by a bus right now. I would have to confirm that, Catherine.
Well, it probably would be.
It would still be able to accommodate some, it will still accommodate larger vehicles that will need to turn around in that area.
All right.
Any other questions? Do you want to show the next slide? I don't know who's presenting.
We just have a few more renderings to show.
Yeah, so Andrew, if you are on the second rendering, I just want to mention that we will be replacing the acorn style light fixture with a more modern looking type. So initially we wanted to match the appearance of the existing ones that are currently installed by the town in the parking. But the designer was not able to accomplish the cutoff requirements for Amtrak standards, and still comply with the non-glare requirements and dark sky rating. So we're gonna be replacing those lights with the more modern fixtures, and we think this is also gonna be in line with SHPO's request to not create a false sense of history. So
Yeah.
that's the note. So.
And the new fixtures will be they're very minimalist because they're able to be LED and not have this kind of historic acorn to it. So unfortunately,
Right.
although we couldn't mimic the historic fixture, what we are proposing will be very minimalistic.
Are they going to be downcast, I hope?
Downcast only, and they have strict requirements for cutoffs so that the engineers are not blinded by the light as they come into the station, which is why we were having trouble with the acorn lights to begin with, because they have an overall glow versus just a downlight.
Right.
I also want to mention that the lighting system is on our typical lighting platform is on a timer and on a light sensor. So in the evenings, the lights go on 50% level, and if necessary, they will go on an hour before the train comes into the landing and go up to 100%. And that's just so that we conserve energy and so that we're not creating a glare, a large glare. Because of the time that the train arrives in the station, usually we probably don't need to have the lights, except maybe in the wintertime for the 5 o'clock train. And if the train arrives outside of, a 2-hour window of when it's supposed to arrive, there will be an override switch for the conductor to hit the lights so that they go up to 100%. So just keep in mind that we're cognizant of energy usage and trying not to light up this whole area all night long, but we do want to have enough light to keep it as a safe environment.
So they're not like basically solar powered or anything like that, correct?
No, yeah, unfortunately, the solar panels required to do this many lights on the platform would be too huge. So we end up having to do standard electrifying, and we do use LED lighting though.
Okay.
This is Margaret. I apologize if you covered this already. My computer died. What is happening to the old depot station? I think Gary mentioned something about decommissioning. I didn't intend to. Yes, once the new station is built and in operation, we will vacate the old station, and the town owns the building. They can do what they want with that space.
Yeah, there was some history about how they acquired, about the museum being that. It's very interesting, very enlightening and educational.
Okay, next, do the presenters have anything else?
We just have a couple more visual slides. Again, the design is at about 90% right now, so we're still working out some of the details, such as the lights. We still have to insert some security issues into the plan that the Amtrak police would like to have added to it. As Lara noted, we are working through the best location for the electric vehicle charging station location, and a covered bike area that would also have an electric bike charging area to it as well. We don't have them on the plan yet, but we are working with the town to make sure we locate those. I think that's about it.
An issue has come up. I understand that the fire department in Brattleboro, and Nora, chime in if you have anything, are interested in having a full sprinkler system in the building and a Knox box. And any padlocks on the gates have to have a Knox box.
Yes, so we've been in contact, obviously, daily almost with Sue and Patrick from the town. We just received that request after the fire marshal reviewed the plans for sprinklers in the building. Unfortunately, the design that we have right now does not have sprinklers per the Vermont Fire and Safety Code, this building is not required to have sprinklers due to its occupancy load, occupancy size. It's an assembly A3 use, I believe. We're nowhere close to the requirements for needing a sprinkler system. We do have what is required, which is a fire alarm control panel, smoke detectors, manual pull stations, and fire extinguishers that are required per the code review. So I guess we, at this point, we'll need to have further discussions with the town on this. But as of right now, the sprinklers are not included in the station building.
Okay, and is there a provision in the plans for fire department pumper connection?
That would be rolled into the sprinkler system. So again, I think we're going to have to further discuss with the town what this means when our code review shows that a sprinkler system is not necessary. Maybe there's other safety factors that we could come to terms on, but it's something that we'll still have to discuss with the town.
Can either Brian or Sue step in on this? Sue, are you still on?
Hi, Catherine. Yes, I am.
Can you verify what Ellen has just told us as far as the type of building actually doesn't require a sprinkler system?
So I want to stay away from that because fire safety and the codes are not my specialty. I can confirm that the fire chief said that it's their preference that a sprinkler be included, that it's that we don't have any local code that requires it, and he wasn't sure if it was in state code. So I think, like Ellen said, this might take more conversation between the town and the fire department to see what everybody is comfortable with.
So I suggest that we make a condition that Amtrak continue discussions with the fire department and the state fire marshal or whoever they need to talk to and come to a resolution that is satisfactory. Does that make sense, Sue?
Yes, I think it does.
So does anybody from Amtrak have any objections to including that as a condition?
I don't think so. I mean, we're open to discussions and trying to figure out what's required by code, what's required by the town, and come to some agreement on what the safety terms, what safety conditions we can include in the station.
Okay.
So I have a question, Maya. Can you explain to us how this building is heated and when it's heated? I mean, it's only in use kind of a very small part of the day, and how do you keep it warm?
Laura, can you give a little bit more information on the heating system that we're proposing?
Yes, of course. So Andrew, if you can jump into let's see which sheet we have. I don't think we have it here in the documents that we sent out.
Yeah, you could just verbally describe what the system is that we're planning on using.
So there are going to be condensing units sitting outside at the parking level, and there are going to be a supplementary ceiling heating panels in the waiting room as well as in the engineer's room. I think the DOR, the designer, is looking into rating panels as well. I think it will be documented in 100% submission. But I think that's that's pretty much what it is. Very simple HVAC system.
It's not a large space. I mean, the waiting room, Laura, how many square feet is the waiting room right now? It's about 400?
500 square feet, yep.
500 square feet, and that's really the room. So it's not a large space. It's not hard to ramp up to heat if it needs to be cool most of the time. We can work with the town on if there's any kind of timer or something like that required, or low level sensing to kind of keep it low during the times it's not used and ramp up to a certain time. We can work with the town on some kind of thermostat that's needed to have that happen.
Now, do you have a picture of the unit in here, rendering what it looks like on the side of the building? I think one of the shots you had a picture, 'cause I believe they showed it too. What do the units look like? It must be in the back.
On the back, there's a gated, there's a kind of
right there.
a screen area. There you go.
I think that's it. Yep, that was it. I think.
Go back one more.
Yeah. Nope.
I think it was there.
Nope, that's it right there. Okay.
Too fast.
And that's the train.
Go forward one, Andrew.
Oh, nope.
I think it was actually backward one.
It's like the family slideshow.
Nope.
18 maybe, slide 18. Maybe 17?
Nope.
Oop.
There it is.
There it is.
18. There it is.
Freeze, right there. That's it. That's the unit.
Does the development regulation require visual screening or security screening or both? And what's the purpose of this screening?
Right now it's really security, but we can make it visually screened if that's necessary.
I would want to double check our regulation.
That's fine. We can do either.
It's similar to the heating. Well, let me think about the station. Metro Park is quite large, but they have the forced air kind of heating. When you're inside, it's almost like the air is just warm. It's not
radiant. It's a radiant. Yeah, we have radiant panels in the ceiling that will help maintain the space without blowing air. Yeah, it's additional heat. Yeah.
Right.
Brian, do you know where the regs are on the heating units?
I got the platforms, but I don't have the ones for
I
heating.
think they're in the frontage standards. But this is really on the side of the building, so I don't think it applies, Maya.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that I know that when we look at historic buildings, we look at how they're concealed, but this is not a historic building.
In either case, we can make it a screen versus, even if you just prefer it to be screened, we can do that as well. In addition to the security that we require, we are really we were driving the fact that we wanted it secure. So if you would like that also to be visually screened, we can just make that into one.
Just to jump in regarding regulations, to confirm what Brian was saying. So 241D for the Waterfront District. So it's the mechanical equipment, electrical meter, and service components and similar utility devices, whether at ground level or mounted on the building, must be camouflaged or screened from view at the front property line and from shoreline or stream banks, and that is within frontage standards.
Okay. So I know it's not at the front of the building, but it's very visible from the parking lot.
Be happy to just make it a screen and just keep going.
Okay. John, does that satisfy your question? Where's John?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we'll make that a condition that it be screened from view.
So I didn't hear much about landscaping either.
So we do have some areas for some planting around the station building base. And then we also have the required tree locations within the parking lot over there at the other end. Other than that, we don't have too many other locations. We are keeping all the green space as you pull in off of Bridge Street, if you go back to the site plan. And unfortunately, you know, because we're so constrained on this site, we don't have a whole lot of space to provide more landscaping areas right up against everything that we're doing. And the brownfield site, you know, trying to avoid doing any massive work in the brownfield site has really constrained us, as well as, you know, the tracks and the width of our platform that's required for Amtrak engineering standards.
So actually what we're looking at right now, the picture that's on there right now, don't move it. On the other side of that, that's where that other site begins, right? Where that building is, that is empty, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, just page left. Yep.
Right, exactly. Okay. So there isn't a whole lot of green.
Not in where we're developing. Obviously, the brownfield site will stay completely green, and that'll be a nice lawn area with those. You have those kind of monumental rocks there.
Yeah, nice.
And that's your handicap accessibility. There's a ramp. Okay. Huh.
Yes. So we'll have 2 ADA parking spaces right there with compliant access from those spaces all the way up to the platform level via the ramp that you can see just to the page right there. And there's a second ramp on the other side as well. So there's 2 sets of steps going up and two ramps going up to the platform.
Now, have you spoke with VTran in regards to anybody who wants to, I mean, I was listening to Catherine too about, you know, admissions and all that, maybe setting something up with them for a minibus or something for people that are in wheelchairs or in those little, what is it, the motorized vehicles and stuff?
I think that's not Amtrak's responsibility, Gary. I think.
No. It's just that I had a talks with them in regards to having something like that available for people who do.
I think that's the town transportation committee.
Okay.
Yeah, we have been in VTrans has been brought along from day one on this one as well. So
good.
They're one of the stakeholders.
Awesome. That's good.
So just a note, I've never seen any woman in this town with high heels and a black suit on. Ever.
Wait, is that Brattleboro?
It's usually jeans and backpacks, but you know.
That'd be Connecticut. That could be Connecticut. I don't know.
That's Catherine.
Flannel shirts.
That's right.
Waiting for the train.
There you go.
Can we also put a condition that they add another business class car? I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
I think the other thing that's important to note in this view that you're seeing here is we are providing some outdoor space that's covered.
Yes.
And the building does have a very large overhang facing the platform. So there is space not only inside for people to wait, but if they want to be outside waiting as well. And having taken the train a few times up to Brattleboro, a couple times in the rain, right now where the station is, there's no outdoor covered space. And everyone tends to want to be outside when the train is coming in. So, you know, we will have some outdoor space.
The only thing we have were folding chairs, so the benches will be very nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hiya. Before you guys move on towards voting on this, there's a lot of interagency review going on still, even though it's very close to being a final design. So there will likely be some changes to the building, the site plan, and other elements. And it would be good if you gave me the flexibility to approve some of those administratively if they're fairly minor.
Oh.
So, I guess we have the choice also to continue, right?
I mean, if there's any changes, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, it's likely that these are really minor and, you know, they'll play out over time. So,
Well, we have given Brian that leeway before.
Yes, we have.
And he's always come through fine.
When are we likely to learn any more about parking plan?
Well, that will be the town. That will be the town coming to the DRB.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is Sue again. So I think the hope is that the town could construct some parking in 2021. So I think that you would see it in the next couple of months. But that is separate from this application. So.
I mean, my only concern is that in approving this application, we're approving the reduction of parking there, which is already tight.
Hi, this is Danny Lichtenfeld. I'm an abutter. I'm the director of the museum. I'm wondering if it's possible.
Danny,
say a word. Yes.
Danny, can I? Did you swear in?
No.
Well, I have to administer an oath if you're going to speak.
And I'm asking if I even can speak. If I can.
No, you can speak. That's
Okay.
not a problem. But I
Okay.
have to find my thing so I can swear you in. I have to find my crib sheet. Just hang on.
Excuse me, guys.
Maya, I was also not sworn in, so should I do the oath with Danny?
Oh yeah, I guess you should, Sue. I totally forgot that you weren't on and didn't swear in. So Danny and
Yes,
Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury. Just say I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Sue.
Oh, you're welcome. And after Danny speaks, I just want to respond to the parking comment after, if that's okay.
All right, Danny, you're on.
And I'm the director of the museum, and so and also a lifelong user of trains and lover of trains and Amtrak, and so I just want to say, I think this is an incredible development in Brattleboro's history. This will become the 4th train station in 160 years of train service to Brattleboro. It's like a once in a century opportunity to move ahead with something like this. And I think it's so exciting that Amtrak is stepping up in this way and doing this for Brattleboro. And I appreciate that. And so I am totally in support of this, and I also think the design is great, and I'll be so proud when Brattleboro has the only properly accessible platform in Vermont of all the train stations in Vermont. I think that's going to be something for us to all be really proud of. And I also, of course, because I work down there, I spend most of my life right down in that area, I know how tight parking is, and I appreciate the parking crunch that we have in town. And so I hope that what I understand is a town project to create additional parking that will serve the station. I hope that will work out, and I hope that will come along. But I would also hope that what's on the table at the moment, the possible loss of a few parking spaces, in order to move ahead with this fantastic new station, that won't hold this up in any way. Would just hate, I personally just, personally would be disappointed to see any of the momentum lost or any potential roadblocks thrown in the way of what I think is just a fantastic development to encourage, improved passenger train service in Brattleboro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sue?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the concern that parking is being lost at this site. I think Danny spoke nicely to it. This is a major kind of community facility that we are getting here, and we all know that there is a shortage of parking space down there. But we do feel like there is enough parking in this application before you tonight to meet the needs of people dropping off and picking up visitors. This is, fairly close to the transportation center. So in the urban center zoning district, I know this is waterfront, but it's right on the border. We don't allow the creation of new private parking, surface parking. So the town is allowed to create surface parking, and that's what we're going to do, adjacent to this if all works out as well. So, this is just a really important facility to the town. Yes, we're losing a couple of spaces, but we're hoping to be able to make those up. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
I'd like to ask another parking question that's a little different. And that is, I don't know whether it would be Sue or somebody from Amtrak that would answer this, but is there any thought given to making any of these spaces long-term parking? I mean, if people, let's say that and this would probably happen, want to go to New York for 3 days. And I don't have anybody to drive me to the station. The bus is not convenient to where I live, and I want to park for 3 days. What are my options? And is there any consideration for any long-term parking?
I can address that, Maya.
Okay.
So at this time, there is no consideration for long-term parking here. The transportation center would be the place for long-term parking, such as you're talking about.
Okay.
Would there be any signage on site to direct people there so they know if they're going to be gone for a long period of time, there's another place to put their car? I would think that
I'm sure that we can figure.
Yeah.
So Sue, I kind of agree with Maya there that this is an area that you need to think about long-term parking. I mean, when you're going away for several days, you got luggage to drag back and forth from the transportation center. It just isn't convenient at all.
I'll pass your concerns along. It's not something that we manage in the planning department, the parking system. So, I'll share those concerns, but I know at this point that's not the intent. There really is a crunch in this southern part of town for, the short-term parking, but the parking system is managed elsewhere, and those decisions could always be made.
Well, perhaps they can get invited to the next meeting.
I have a quick question to Sue.
Well, Catherine, wait, let Sue respond to Nora.
Yeah, I mean, Nora, I think that how the town manages the parking, though, is not the purview of the DRB, with all due respect. So we can invite them to the next meeting to hear the concerns, or I can pass them along.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I was curious about the, now that the tech building, what is going on with the parking spaces that are over by Brattleboro Tech Building? What's happening to that area?
Well, So just real briefly, because it doesn't really relate to this project, but there will be a loss with the new bridge coming in. There will be some spaces that they lose there, but that's
Okay.
private parking.
Right, but I'm just saying, isn't that could possibly be an alternative?
Well, it's privately owned
Eventually.
parking.
Right, and you know, never mind. I guess it's because I don't have a car, I walk, and it's not really that far from the transportation center to the station. I don't know, you know, I mean, it looks like enough parking there that you have right now. Most of the time, people will drop somebody off and leave. They're not going to park. And I understand that, you know, maybe you go away to New York for 3 days and you want to come back. If I had a car, Maya, I would drive you to the station and pick you up when you got back. I mean, I don't think we should hold up this project because of a couple.
I'm not saying, I'm not at all asking the project to be held up. That's not the intent. I was just asking whether there was any consideration being given to creating some long-term parking, and I think Sue answered that question. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are there any other questions or any other comments from the board? Are there any members of the public who have not spoken who would like to speak? Does anybody from Amtrak have anything else they would like to say?
I would like to say that as far as the schedule going forward, you know, we will be working on this easement agreement with the host railroad and the town. That's really kind of paramount at this point. We will be developing the drawings to 100%, making those slight adjustments as needed for consultation with the town and further departments in Amtrak. And we are hoping to start construction of the track improvements in 2021. And the actual station that you see here with the parking, this construction is planned for spring of 2022.
Okay. So I would like somebody, if there are no more comments, I would like somebody to make a motion that we approve the creation of the Amtrak station as designed with the following changes. One, that we authorize Brian to approve the new lighting system, and that Amtrak and continue to talk to both DPW and to public and to the fire department, and that if there are no radical changes, that Brian be authorized to approve whatever they come up with. And there was one other thing. Oh, that the heating and cooling system be visually screened as well as security screened. Did I leave anything out? Anybody? Would
No, I think
somebody
you
like?
covered it.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the Amtrak station design with the conditions that I outlined. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the Amtrak station has been approved, and with the conditions. Do those conditions sound okay, Brian? I should have asked you before we voted.
No, it sounds great, Maya.
Okay. All right. Is there any other business to come before the committee? And I have a motion to adjourn.
A motion that we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning? Please.
Aye.
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 Okay, 7-0. And we'll see everybody on the 20th and have a good holiday season. And thank you for your presentation.
And wear your masks.
That's
What?
right. Stay safe. You
Happy holidays,
too. Stay safe.
Yes.
We'll see you out there.
Don't visit people.